Good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, Dr. Newton. How are you?
Breathing. That's all I can say, breathing.
That's good.
Thank you so much for doing this chat with me. We start very simply by asking you to tell us your name and tell us as much about you as you want to so we can get to know you a little bit better.
Sure. I certainly appreciate the opportunity for this conversation. My name is Nick Roberts. I live in North Carolina. I live in a town called Cornelius, North Carolina, which is a suburb of Charlotte. I am a father and a husband, father of 3 children. My oldest son is 19 years old, just finished his first year at Georgia State University in Atlanta. I have a daughter who's right in the middle. She's 11, and my youngest is Zachary. He is 9 years old now, so getting older. My wife and I have lived here in North Carolina for almost 20 years now. I actually grew up in Florida, on the coast of Florida, and moved up to North Carolina for school many years ago, and took jobs in and around the Southeast, and ended up settling here. And finally, I work for Davidson College. I'm in IT. I'm a director of enterprise systems, and that was actually what allowed me to cross paths with you, Dr. Newton, on a recent workshop where you were one of the panelists. And I Googled you, as many people do other people now, and found out that we work in similar fields. We seem to have similar backgrounds regarding technology and the work that we do. I was very impressed with what you had to say on that panel. So I reached out to start a conversation, and I'm glad I'm here now.
And I'm glad you're here as well. So tell me, so you've lived in North Carolina your entire life. What is North Carolina like? And I mean, I'm asking you this, like, what are the industries? What is the things that make North Carolina great? What keeps you in North Carolina? And then asking you about diversity and education and opportunity. So I'm asking you all 6 of those questions in one question.
You're going to have to remind me, but I'll do my best. First of all, I want to clarify, I grew up in Florida. I came up to North Carolina for college. So I've been here, I graduated in early 90s. So I've been here close to 30 years. I lived a little bit of time in, my first job was a high school band director in Danville, Virginia, which I consider part of North Carolina in many ways. It's just right over the border of Greensboro. So North Carolina for me, my first experience coming up to school from growing up on the East Coast of Florida was different. My high school was composed of quite a diverse population. There were Black students, there were white students, there were Latinx students, there were lots of people, lots of friends that I had. And one of the first things I noticed when I went to school at Western Carolina up in the mountains, one of the first thing I noticed was the lack of diversity. These people all look like me. There's a lot of white people, a lot of people who are, on similar paths. So I went to school as a music student, music education. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a band director specifically. But in talking with the folks who came to school from that area, mountain area, what I discovered is that there are a lot of folks that were in similar socioeconomic situations that I grew up in. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, but the lack of diversity seemed to be something that they didn't even notice. And that was my first time I ever questioned, or had thoughts around inequality and specifically racism. I got to know a few of my friends who grew up, who were part of the Cherokee Nation, and hearing their experiences as kids growing up and young adults with racism and discrimination and prejudice made me think immediately about that. And then going into what I thought was going to be a long career in education, I thought, hey, I can maybe do something about this. Not only can I try to do good and not be racist and not, discriminate and educate myself, but maybe I can help other folks. So again, back to your question of growing up in North Carolina, that was my first experience, meeting people that grew up in the mountains, that grew up in poverty, and that were doing the best they could and trying to better themselves through college. What I also found out was, even people are complicated. Human beings are so complicated, and the human experience is so complex that, the same people that I thought I was bonding with around, bettering ourselves and enjoying school, sometimes making good decisions, sometimes making bad decisions as part of the school experience. There was still this underlying, racism, this underlying discriminatory thoughts that I sort of accepted as part of those people. That I thought, oh, well, this must be how it works here. You just, complacency or not speaking up and not addressing, if this person makes a comment or a racist joke or what have you. As long as it's not overt, I thought, oh, that must be the culture, So moving into being a professional, young professional, teaching school, I mentioned Danville, Virginia. Met a really good friend of mine, one of my first mentors in the sense of, professional mentors and good friends. Reggie, he was a band director in the same town. He sort of, saw in me some good potential, and we connected very well. He's a Black man. I thought nothing of it, but we had experiences. I thought nothing of having this good friend, and the fact that he was Black and I was white meant really nothing to me. But I soon started to learn, he has been through so many different experiences than what I have experienced in, and discovering that we were not treated the same. He was a well-respected man in the community, in his church, he's one of the best band directors I've ever known in my life. But still, to see what I learned to become microaggressions and things like that directed towards him and not towards me was another sort of eye-opening moment for me, and the realization that I'm growing up and I'm living in the South, and there's a long tradition of inequality here that pervades my life as a young white guy. In some ways, but the fact that I don't have the experience and the haven't had to go through what my friend Reggie has had to go through all his life, was a point for me to stop and consider, what can I do to help? Dr. Newton, I've forgotten all of your other questions about North Carolina.
What's the best thing about North Carolina?
Best thing about North Carolina, I love, I really like being part of North Carolina. I love the mountains, the ocean, the environment. I love the fact that I live in an area where there's trees surrounding me. I love the musical traditions. I trained it as a musician. I taught band for a long time, and I'm still consider myself a musician. So I enjoy all of the diversity of music in this area. Knowing that I live very close to where John Coltrane was born and grew up, and those sorts of things make me proud to be a North Carolinian.
Yeah, I love the Miles Davis in the background. Really, really great picture. I can't see who else is there, but I do see Miles. It's great.
I've got Miles, I've got Coltrane, and Billie Holiday over here. So
excellent selections. Excellent selections. Okay, so we've talked about North Carolina. I don't think it's necessary to talk about Florida since you are been more of an adult now. I'm going to ask you a question. It's a difficult question, and if you don't want to answer it, please don't.
Sure.
Specifically for my age group, I'm 61. Does it make sense, or is it reasonable to you that specifically Black, and I can't speak for brown since I'm not brown, but specifically for Black people, not to trust white people?
My gut reaction is hell yes. Unfortunately, and that's, does it make sense? Maybe it doesn't make sense. Is there evidence to support the fact that you as a Black woman in your generation should not trust white people? I can only imagine. Yes. From the best I can do is educate myself and talk to people and talk to Black people and brown people who have gone through those things, since I don't have the same lived experience. So in all of these stories and readings and all of what I'm trying to do to educate myself, the common theme is I cannot trust, you cannot trust a white person because you've been failed so many times. There's we try to get back down to Florida every now and again. I got a lot of family still down there. A couple of years ago, we were driving. We always drive. It's always a big adventure driving down I-95. And for years, we've passed Sapelo Island on the southern coast of Georgia. I never thought a thing about it until 2 years ago. I happened to be listening to a podcast, and the subject was Sapelo Island and the phrase 40 acres and a mule, and where did that come from, right? So learned a lot about that, learned about the community that grew up on Sapelo, and the fact that, the land given to Black people and formerly enslaved people at that time that was quickly taken back and continues to be taken back over the years, was yet another example where, no wonder people can't trust other people. If people cannot, live up to promises and treat people fairly, then I would not expect otherwise, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I always tell people this: in 1619, when that first slave ship arrived in North America, not one of those people were seeking a better life in America. They didn't come here for a better life, where a good majority of the white people have come here, have come for a better life, for a better opportunity. Mm-hmm. And Langston Hughes asked, what happens to a dream that is deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin and fly away? And I'm paraphrasing, so forgive me.
Yeah.
But for us, and specifically for my generation, I don't know if this is true of my children. I have two children, one 41, one 21. And so I don't know if this is true of my generation, but what I find often about white people, specifically white males, is I'm not threatening because I'm fair-skinned, but I am controversial because I don't hold my tongue. I say whatever I have to say. Yeah. And a lot of people said that's why I'm never going to become a CIO, or I'm never going to get much further than I am now. And I accept that. If that's God's will for me, that's God's will. But I don't feel comfortable biting my tongue or trying to pacify people who have for years overtly done everything they could to make sure that Black and brown people were at the bottom.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about white supremacists or Klan or any of that. I'm talking about just ordinary white people, have done so. If we go to a historically Black college, it's not good enough. If we work at McDonald's, it's not good enough. We've got to constantly be proving ourselves. And I can say for me, I am so tired and sad and hurt and angry because I'm so tired. Our lives don't matter. Our well-being doesn't matter. Our economic position doesn't matter. None of it matters. And so when I do get a chance to talk to white people, I try to ask them, what is your thoughts about why this has occurred this way and continues to occur? And I'm not even talking about the shooting yet, just the regular things of daily survival.
Yeah. First of all, I want to mention that the reason I sought you out specifically is because you were not afraid to hold back. And that was inspirational to me, because I feel like for many years, I have held back. I haven't spoken up. I haven't been brave. I haven't been courageous to stand up for Black people or brown people or any oppressed people or discriminated against. So I thank you for that, but it's also, it's hard. It is hard for me as a people pleaser. I've always been a people pleaser, and that's one of my weaknesses, to be able to muster up that courage. But why does that happen? Why is it so ingrained into our culture and society? I don't know why. I do know that it is, and that only through me looking in, trying to educate myself, reading about the things that I just don't know about, the things that I learn about from people like you and everyone else, to become aware of those issues and to become aware of what it means when, people are arguing about symbology. So the statues and the Uncle Ben and the Aunt Jemima and all of these things where lots of my friends and lots of the people who look like me can just say, oh, what does that matter? That are we quibbling over little tiny stuff? Like, why is it always got to be about color is what I've heard lately. The term gaslighting, I learned what gaslighting means, right? And I totally see that. And I think that it's a collective sort of ignorance, a collective complacency for people like me, white people, that just exacerbates the problem, right? So, I can't, other than being evil and ignorant, I can't trace back the reasons why, there is inequality and there's racism until I learn more about it. So, I really think that it's important, especially in this time. It's hard for me to have conversations and not feeling like it is performative. It's another term I've learned recently, right? Performative allyship. But I have to be brave. I have to be courageous. I have to be willing to ask questions if I'm going to get closer to understanding and closer to being able to help. I think that's, the more people would do that and stop and think, question your friends, question, my younger brother is probably my best friend. We grew up together, and he and I have had conversations. He and I think a lot alike. We recognize the horrible situations around inequality and racism now. We have conversations around it, and we help each other to be brave with our other friends. I have another really good friend who I finally said to him the other day, he said something about, I think he even said the phrase, why does it always have to be about race? And through my little bit of reading and my education, I had the words to help answer that, right? Prior to the last, and honestly, I'm ashamed to say it's only been the last couple months that I really dug in. But prior to that, I didn't have the language to express my thoughts and my opinions. I knew that what he was saying was wrong, and that there's a reason that, racism is wrong, and the fact that he's doing something called gaslighting. I didn't have that language. So the more I educate myself and put myself in uncomfortable situations, I think it's better for me, better for my family. I have this motto: be kind and do good work. My team hears it all the time. My family hears it all the time. But I realize that there's another piece that's missing, and that's take action. Right? Don't be complacent. Don't go along with what you're hearing just to not rock the boat, which is what I've done for a long time.
Yeah. I think that, I often hear, all lives matter. And that's 100% true statement. All lives matter. But I told someone this in an analogy this morning. If you're the fire department and only one house is in the neighborhood is on fire, why are you going to put water on all the other houses? I mean, right. It's just one house that's on fire. And to me, that's what Black lives are. So we are on fire, and we need help. And, and the reason why I didn't go directly to the killings is because we lack everything, so I would surmise, a guess, that you didn't have to work very hard to become the director of enterprise systems at your organization. You were just, you had an interview, they liked you, you liked them, and you accepted. I've been in IT for 44 plus years. Not one person has ever asked me to be their CIO. I was a director of IT once for about 7 or 8 years, but ever since then, I've been where I am now, senior manager.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find awfully unfortunate about it is that I'm not unique. You know, Black women, Black men, brown women are unwanted, really invisible and unwanted. A woman wrote an article in the Washington Post that says, "Why aren't there more diverse faculty?" And she said simply that we don't want them. And that's how it is everywhere, you know. And I don't apply for jobs very often because rejection is kind of hard for me because I'm being tired of being rejected. Yesterday I had an interview, and from the moment the person got on the camera, you could tell his disdain for me just bled out the camera to me. White man, Black woman, you know. And so, you know, I asked him a couple of questions. He asked me a couple of questions, but you could tell from the moment he saw me, he was not going to even give me the benefit of the doubt, you know. And so I ended the chat quickly because there wasn't no point in wasting my time or his time. But we let me speak for me. I find it very difficult to navigate the IT world as a Black woman who wishes to advance. I do a lot for people. You know, I mean, I think if you listen to my chats, almost everybody will tell you I have done something for them. I advocate for them. I help. My university doesn't even recognize me. I am just literally another cog in the wheel, expendable. We can wake up in the morning and fire her. We don't have to pay her very much. My leadership doesn't see me. I'm invisible to them. You know, I go to a lot of meetings. I'm the only person that looks like me. Yeah. So I'm tired. I am really tired. And, you know, and someone said, well, then you should retire, which I thought was very cute. I thought, oh, that's a good idea. You know, but in reality, I still feel like I have work to do. I feel like I have God's purpose to do. And I don't think I should stop working. But maybe my place where I am is not the right place for me if they don't see any value in me. I posted this on my LinkedIn page this morning. Educause DEI nominated me for a diversity award. And then they wrote me this cute little note. Well, no, we weren't chosen. Sorry. Back in, I think, January, February, 4 people at the university had nominated me for an award. And only one of the 4 people who had nominated me got a response back saying, no, we didn't choose Rochelle. You know, and if you listen at these chats and you listen to almost everyone, a good number of these people I don't know. I don't have a personal relationship with them. I don't know. But those who know me can tell you, I do whatever they ask me to do. I feed them. I bring students and faculty, staff, judges, anybody I can together so they can create their own community. I am blessed that God gave me a little money so I can afford to feed people without it being too much of a hardship for us. Sure. You know, to get a raise, I'll tell you a story. So when I came to the law school, I was hired because the law school had failed an audit, and someone over at Central Campus had heard of me and said, hey, you know, they need you to come over there and fix a problem over there at the law school. And of course, I interviewed and they hired me as a contractor for 6 months. Great. Okay. January of that next year, they hired me permanently. And every time I think about this, I kind of cringe even in my own head. So I had a colleague, I was the user experience enterprise person, and he was the infrastructure person. And so he and I worked together as a team. We were literally, you know, collaborative on everything that we did. And one day he woke up, he gave our manager an alternative. If you don't make me assistant director or a director, I'm going to leave. And he gave him a period of time to do, and he did, and he left. And he's now the director of IT in a department at another part of the university. And when that came to be, my manager called me into his office and he said to me, you either take this job or we're going to let you go. That's what he said. And they gave me a 10% increase. And even with that 10% increase, I was not making as much as the gentleman who left, who had less experience, less education, less everything. Now, the gentleman who left is absolutely phenomenal. I love him to death. He's just a really, really great guy. But that's how my university saw me. It's like expendable. You don't do what we want you to do, get out. You know, just go. And so what I'm hoping from white people is that you have conversations that are more than just at home chatting, you know, really, this is a terrible thing. Oh God, how bad this is. But really to make change. If you hire somebody, hire the best qualified person, but don't rule out Black people simply because they have weird names or, you know, they wear their hair in these different styles. Right. Hire them for their ability and their qualification. Because nothing in my life tells me that there are not qualified Black and brown people for almost any job, CIO, CEO, COO, whatever it is. It's just, that's not who we're going to hire.
Yeah.
And that's just simply where it is. So I'm asking everybody that I talk to that's white, that you start thinking about that, thinking about, you know, can I hire fairly? Can I create a diverse team? And I'll give you an analogy. If you could imagine a box of Crayola crayons and they're all white, what do you think the outcome is going to be?
It's all white.
All white. Right.
Everything's going to be the same.
Exactly. Whereas if you take all however many colors come in a box these days, I haven't had any in years, but if you take however many in, you get a beautiful art, for lack of a better word, but a beautiful outcome. And yet still we don't understand that. We believe we need white men to lead us and tell us what to do and everything. And what's far also crazy about that is even white women who have a more power and more voice than we do, but they too are trailing. You know, few white women serves on boards, CEOs, COOs, all this. So it's a universal problem in the United States that's not being addressed anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so my attempt with this chat, you know, when I told my husband I was going to do it, he said, you know, Duke's going to fire you, right? First, I was a little afraid about that because, you know, we need the income. I've got to send my child to college and all that. Yep. Then I sat there and I had a conversation with God that night in the bed. And I said, if this is what you wish for me, then this is what has happened to me. And I have to find a new job somewhere else. But I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of speaking my truth, you know. So, you know, we had a Juneteenth message from the president to reflect on what, you know, I mean, on June 19th in Texas, Black people were finally notified.
Finally, yeah.
But what am I reflecting about? You know, that I'm free? No, I'm not reflecting about that. Most Black people don't reflect about that. We celebrate Juneteenth because it is a momentous occasion. There's nothing to reflect on. You know, they've sent out all kinds of things, working while Black, which, you know, it would be like you telling me what it's like to be a Black woman. How would you know? No matter how many Black friends you have, if you have a Black wife, you have Black children, you have Black girlfriends, to be a person of another race, you have no idea what it's like to live in the skin of a Black or a brown person.
Yep.
What we feel every single day. You know, you look at the number of us in the faculty, staff, administrators, students.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, forgive me for my rant, but that's what I would like to ask is that when you are in position to hire, help, mentor, coach, advocate. So if you have an employee who you think is doing really well, Black, white, blue, green, or orange, brown, whatever, help them find the next step up. You know, help them get to the next level. You know, advocate for him, write a letter of recommendation, stand up for him, you know, put some skin in the game. You're willing to put your name out there, call one of your friends and say, hey, I've got this girl or this guy who's really, really smart. I think you should give him a chance. And although you might lose a good person, that gives you an opportunity to put someone else in that place, you know, and those are the kind of things I like to ask white people to do, you know, as they think about this. Dialogue and chatting is great. You know, you probably are like me. We meet to meet. You have more meetings than I don't even understand. I'm almost a meeting a minute, you know. Yeah. And every time we meet, we come back to the same topic. Okay, I'm ready to move on from this now. Can we talk about something else?
Let's make a decision and go.
Right. So, you know, when you get into these meetings and as you're engaging with your colleagues in regards to what race or gender they are, that you all have conversations that have actions, you know, that there are things you can write down. So we're going to, you know, create a search committee that includes the youngest, least experienced person to the most experienced person to interview this candidate. People from other departments to interview this candidate, that you know, see someone who needs a hands up, and I don't care what color that person is, give them a hand up. You know, yes, white people have lots of hands up, but still, if you have a white person that's working for you who you think that person should be a director or a manager or something, write for that.
Right.
Do for a Black person, a brown person. Someone once told me many, 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 many years ago, it said, for me to be successful, I need you to be able to take my job.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a powerful statement.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned the role of the hiring manager and what we can do. Not only to create diverse teams, but to promote it and to help. It goes back to your example of all lives matter versus Black lives matter. Sure, all jobs are important. Everyone deserves to work. Right. But there are people who need our help to get those opportunities. So we are in, you might be in the same situation at the end of our fiscal year, June. We're in our performance management cycle now. So I'm doing a bunch of performance reviews. And one of our criteria or our goals is around diversity and inclusion. And I can't tell you the number of times I've read, well, I don't have opportunities for diversity or inclusion. I don't know what to do. I don't know. And, I'll admit that I used to think that way too, but you have to put in some effort. You have to ask questions. If you don't know what to do, let's decide that together. Your examples of search committees, including a diverse group of people, and not just racially diverse, but diverse in age, diverse in perspective and ethnicity, whatever it might be. It takes work. It's not something that you can just sit back and wait until, celebrate. Oh, we hired a Black person, or we hired a Cuban person, we hired a brown person. Great, and I can tick this box. It's been a struggle as a hiring manager in the IT world, where there are so many white males, and a lot of them are very well qualified.
Absolutely.
We have to seek out the people who are not the white males, right? A lot of times, I read a statistic and have seen it many times recently that women, regardless of their color, women will not apply for a job if they don't think they meet all of the qualifications, right? Whereas a man will go, I'd apply for a job if I like the title, right? And I would say, I can talk my way through these qualifications.
Right.
So recognizing things like that, educating ourselves as hiring managers, is part of that job. Becoming a manager was, I've managed teams for a long time now, but understanding the value of the work I do, I used to think, gosh, all I do is answer emails and get in meetings now, right? Yep. But it's points like how can we help people who need the help? That is a huge part of our jobs. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's been on my mind also.
Sure. Very good. So let me ask you this. You've seen the video of Mr. Floyd? I have. What did you think of it?
It was horrible. It embarrassed me it didn't embarrass me. It angered me at first. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but then I've seen so many more videos where the same exact thing was happening. I thought, that's what it is. This happens all the time. The embarrassment was, how can a person that looks like me, or a professional person, a person who's hired to protect and serve his community, how can he do that to another human being?
Right.
And the embarrassing part for me was my ignorance around, Nick, this happens all the time.
All the time.
Like you have to be aware of it. You have to teach your children that this is happening, unfortunately. So, yeah.
I mean, even the peaceful protests, you saw the two students, one was from Spelman, the other one was from Morehouse College, and they tased them. I mean, life as a Black person is a very dangerous thing, because many times the simplest thing. So I bet the day Mr. Floyd woke up and went to do whatever it was he went to do, he did not think he'd be dead right before dark. Sure. Or the man in Atlanta who was just recently shot in the back, that he would be dead before dark, and the thing that's so hard about these things is that, people are always bemoaning, Blacks want reparation, Blacks want this, Blacks want that. I have a 21-year-old son and a 41-year-old daughter. My son goes to school 48 miles away from me. I pray from the moment he pulls out my driveway to the moment he texts me or calls me and says, Mom, I made it. And when he says, I'm on my way home, from the minute he calls or text says, I'm on my way home, till he gets in the driveway. And the same is for my daughter. That the least little thing could cause a police officer to go off the rails and kill a Black man. And I mean, and in recent reports, we've heard of 2 Black men hanging. I'm going to tell you something, and I'm almost 100% certain of this. I don't think a Black person in America, now I can't speak for any other country, but a Black person in America would hang themselves. That's such a powerful symbol of pain, to put a noose around your neck and hang from a tree. That's the kind of stuff that makes you, not even, you can't even fathom that, and so people want to spin it all kinds of different ways. They were suicidal, they were depressed, or whatever it is. I don't care how, I am suicidal and depressed all the time. I might take a drawer full of pills, I might shoot myself, but I promise you I'm not going to put a noose around my neck. No way, no form, no shape, no how, because that is absolutely horrible.
Mhm.
So we have about 3 minutes. So let me just wind this up by asking you this question. So you saw what happened to Mr. Floyd. You know this has been going on and on. What do you think will happen with these protests and what we're doing now?
Um, I I don't know. I can't say what will happen ultimately. What I can say is this, you know, eh, this time, this go round, because, you know, it's obviously not the first time, won't be the last time, but this time in my lifetime, I'm 48 years old. In my lifetime, this is the first time I've felt more momentum. It feels a little bit different, and maybe it's my decision to educate myself and take action, be brave. Maybe that's the difference for me personally, but I see more conversations going with, my friends who are white, talking about it. They're putting themselves in an uncomfortable situation. So I am hopeful that momentum will carry forward. I'm also not naive to think that, one day we're going to wake up and inequality is gone, racism is gone.
Right.
I continue to see horrible things, from people who have so much hate in their souls and so much anger, that it's like one of those massive problems that you think is too big to resolve, right? And there's lots of analogies about what one person can do. There's the I don't know if it was you told or somebody else, the starfish analogies. There's 100 starfish wash up on the beach, and the little girl starts throwing them back in one at a time, and people look at, well, what are you doing? I'm throwing this. So eventually 100 people come in and they throw all the starfish back. We're going to need a billion people to change their minds and educate themselves and stand up to make a difference. So I do know that it feels different. I said earlier that human beings are complicated. The lives we live are complicated. Talking to my daughter and my son, my younger kids especially, about, Daddy, why are they taking those statues down? Why are they, the things that I learned about Abraham Lincoln, for example, that I didn't learn in my high school class. It makes it a complicated relationship, right? I always thought, hey, this man is a great man. He freed the slaves. Well, there's a lot more to that story, right? There's the colonization and all this other stuff that I'm learning about. And my hope is that regardless of what, the good and the bad and people, we've got to get to a point where people understand that, human lives are important. Everyone is important. All lives matter for sure. But what's more important is helping those that need our help, right? Right now, as a white man, I'm in the position to provide help,
Yeah.
right? My black neighbor or my black friend or my black, colleague at work is not in that same position. So I'm hopeful, cautiously hopeful, I guess is where I'm at.
That's great. That's really great. And I'm so glad you asked to chat with me. I enjoyed this very much. As soon as it's converted, I'll send you a link to it so you can review it and say whether I can upload it. But I end with this one statement. Whatever you do, never tell a black or brown person, I have black friends or brown friends. That's an insult, because I don't even know what that means. Okay, I have white friends. Is that some kind of declaration or I'm making some kind of point? So whatever you do, do not allow people to say that, because that is an insult and a harm to a black person. So
makes sense.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I'll send you a copy of the video. I'll send you a Google Drive link to it so you can see it and approve it and say I can upload it or not. And if you will, please join me again for another chat later on. In the year, probably sometime August or September. And my last request is your famous Davidson alumni. Tell them I said hello. My son looks exactly like him.
Okay.
Absolutely. Stay safe.
I know who you're talking about. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Dr. Newton. I appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you, and stay safe.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.